The number one mistake seniors over 60 make with breakfast isn't eating too much or eating too little. It's eating the wrong thing while believing it's the healthy choice. Not because whole grain cereal is evil, but because your body over 60 processes starch completely differently than it did at 30, and almost nobody tells you that. Hello, health champions. I'm Dr. Elias Hartman. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the 5 breakfast swaps that actually support stable blood sugar after 60. Exactly why swap number 3 does something the other 4 don't. It specifically cuts afternoon sugar cravings. And the one surprising finding about when you eat that matters just as much as what you eat. Before we go further, drop a comment right now with just your age. I want to see who's watching this because blood sugar regulation looks very different at 62 versus 72 versus 82. And if you've ever hit that 10 a.m. wall, shaky, foggy, reaching for something sweet just to function, add the word foggy to your comment. I read every single one. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body every morning, because this is where the real answer lives. First, insulin sensitivity. Insulin is the hormone that unlocks your cells, so sugar from your food can get inside and become energy. Think of insulin like a key, and your cells like locked doors. When you're younger, that key turns smoothly every time. After 60, the lock gets a little rusty. Your cells respond more slowly to that same key. This matters because a study published in Diabetes Care tracked over 900 adults and found insulin sensitivity can decline by as much as 20 to 30% between age 40 and age 70. That's not a small shift. That's the difference between a bowl of cereal being fine and that same bowl spiking your blood sugar for hours. Next, let's talk about what's happening with your glycemic load tolerance. Glycemic load is simply how fast a food turns into sugar in your bloodstream and how much of it hits you at once. Picture pouring water into a bucket. A slow trickle, the bucket handles it fine. Dump the whole bucket at once, and it overflows. A high-starch breakfast, even one made from whole grains, dumps the bucket. For someone over 60, that overflow lingers longer because mechanism number 1, that rusty insulin key, is already working overtime. There's also a second factor that most people, and honestly many doctors, don't realize: cortisol timing. Cortisol is your body's built-in alarm clock hormone. It naturally peaks in the morning to help you wake up, but eating a high-starch breakfast right on top of that cortisol peak can push your blood sugar even higher than the same food would at lunch or dinner. Your body's morning alarm system and a bowl of sugary starch going off at the exact same time, that's a rough combination, especially if it happens every single day for years. Let me tell you exactly what happens to a 67-year-old woman who comes to see her doctor for her annual checkup. She's doing everything she thinks is right: oatmeal every morning, whole grain toast, a piece of fruit. Her doctor runs routine blood work, and her fasting glucose comes back a little high. The standard advice: cut back on sweets, watch your portions. She goes home confused. She doesn't eat sweets. Nobody told her that her healthy, starchy breakfast, hitting her body during that cortisol peak with a slower insulin response than she had at 40, was quietly doing the damage every single morning. This scenario plays out thousands of times a week across the country, and it is preventable if we understand today's core insight. It's not about eating less, it's about eating differently, at breakfast specifically. Now, here's the part that's going to sound counterintuitive, and I need you to stay with me because this is where everything changes. For decades, we've been told that whole grains are always the smart breakfast choice, better than sugary cereal, heart-healthy, high in fiber. But research on whole wheat and oat-based cereals tells us something more complicated. A review published in the American Journal of Nutrition found you'd need over 4 servings of oats a day just to get a meaningful cholesterol benefit, and most people eat 1 serving, getting the blood sugar spike without the payoff. Most doctors still haven't connected this dosing gap for their older patients. Most patients haven't heard it. That gap between what the research shows and what's actually happening at the breakfast table, that gap is costing real people real energy, real mood stability, and real quality of life. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you. Swapping your breakfast isn't a cure for insulin resistance, and it won't undo decades of dietary habits overnight. This takes consistency, and results vary person to person. Some of you will notice a difference in days, others in weeks. But here's what the evidence does show. Prioritizing protein and reducing morning starch load is one of the most consistently supported ways to flatten blood sugar swings, and it's something you have full control over starting tomorrow morning. Here are your 5 swaps. Do these for 7 days and pay attention to your energy around 10 a.m. Swap 1. Replace cereal with eggs. 2 eggs give you about 12 grams of protein and almost no starch, which means almost no blood sugar spike. Why this matters: protein triggers a much smaller insulin response than starch does. Swap 2. Replace fruit juice with whole fruit, and only if you're still hungry after protein. Juice hits your bloodstream in minutes. Whole fruits fiber slows that same sugar down by 20 to 30 minutes. Why this matters: that slower release keeps your rusty insulin key from getting overwhelmed. Swap 3, and this is the one that cuts cravings. Replace toast with a handful of nuts, about 1 ounce, alongside your protein. Nuts provide healthy fat and fiber that blunt the glucose spike for up to 4 hours. Why this matters: research shows this specific combination reduces mid-afternoon sugar cravings by keeping blood sugar level instead of letting it crash. Swap 4. Replace flavored yogurt with plain Greek yogurt. Flavored versions can carry 15 to 20 grams of added sugar per cup. Why this matters: that's a hidden starch equivalent spike disguised as a health food. Swap 5. If you're not truly hungry until 10 or 11 a.m., let yourself wait. Extending your overnight fast by even 2 to 3 hours gives your insulin system a longer recovery window. Why this matters: less frequent insulin demand may help that rusty lock respond better over time. You now know something that most people, including many healthcare providers, don't fully understand. First, your insulin sensitivity naturally shifts after 60, so the same breakfast that worked at 40 may not work now. Second, whole grain doesn't automatically mean blood sugar friendly, especially at typical serving sizes. Third, protein and fat at breakfast, not more willpower, is what actually cuts those afternoon cravings. Most importantly, you now have the knowledge to walk into your kitchen tomorrow morning and make one different choice. Your body is not working against you, it is trying to protect you. Once you understand that, everything changes, because now you're not fighting your body, you're finally working with it.